So there are a few tensions or areas of contention, if you can call it that, in the mobile for development space, and one of them is scale and how you achieve scale and how you take things at a fairly small level and you build them up. And the other that I write quite a lot about now is the sort of tension between social entrepreneurship and innovation. I wrote a post recently called "The Rise of the Reluctant Innovators," and it was really looking at a lot of the solutions to many of the problems that we see in developing countries are being solved by people who just find themselves closest to that problem and coming up with an answer. They're not social entrepreneurs, they're not business people, they're frontline healthcare workers, they're farmers, they're human rights activists. They experience something and they think it needs to be solved, or they suddenly come out with an idea for solving it. Frontline SMS was very much like that for me in South Africa, and many of my friends who helped create Ushahidi, the crowdsourcing platform that came out of the election crisis in Kenya a couple or so years ago, they weren't looking to build a business, they were looking to find a solution to a very, very big problem at that particular time. And I think once these innovations start to get traction, and then there's pressure on the people that created the innovation to start to build something from it to reach towards financial sustainability and to start to build business models and think about marketing plans and strategies, you suddenly start to get this tension where the people that actually had the idea never really intended perhaps that to happen, and the whole social entrepreneurship world is very much focused on financial sustainability and monetizing, in many cases, a service or a product which is aimed at potentially poor people. And it's one of the challenges that I've found over the last couple of years, particularly in my work. Everything we do is free to our end user because we're trying to create and reach the maximum number of people, but that of course makes it very, very hard to financially sustain. The argument perhaps that ultimately comes out of all of this is that if you can't monetize something and if you can't make a profit to potentially reinvest into keeping it going, then perhaps it has no value. And I would argue very much against that. I think there are many, many mobile projects that I see which are genuinely creating change, but there's no obvious business model for them. There's no obvious way of actually making them sustainable. So does that make them less valuable? And I don't think there's any answers to this right now. Again, it's still very, very early in the life cycle of this field for us to really understand it. But I still see and increasingly see this tension between innovation and social entrepreneurship, where the innovators come at a problem from the problem, and the social entrepreneurs tend to come at it from a business opportunity or from a business angle. And I'd love to see some kind of middle ground there or some answers around that. But it's something that challenges me, something I write about a lot, and I think something which will become increasingly challenging for people as the industry and the sector matures.